Good morning. Good morning. I'm pretty stoked to be here. Are you? Amen. We've got some folders in the aisle, and I don't think it got mentioned earlier, but go ahead and sign those and pass those to your left, and that will help us keep track of who's here and all that kind of stuff. I want to show you, while we get going, some fails. I mean, this is a fail. Okay, are you ready? Here's one. What? Okay, right? Okay, well, but that's not quite as awkward as this one. Honey, this orange juice is a little tart. Is everything okay? Yeah, that's a fail. And there's this one. I'm not sure that qualifies as vegan. That's pretty awful. This is one of my favorites. Oh, that's just unfortunate. Whoever's in charge of this, I just hurt for them because that's just terrible. Now, I realize Valentine's coming up, but please don't get any ideas. This is a burger chain. Wow, that's not as funny as that one. All right. Sometimes the sign, it just doesn't work. I mean, it just flops. And I wanted to share that with you as a way of, I'm going to do an end around and kind of bring that back. So I'm just going to, stick that right over here. We'll come back to that in a second. In fact, this seems like I'm just jumping into this, but I'm not. I promise it has a point. This thing right here is this stand that we made for several reasons, but I wanted to use it this morning, and I wanted to show you where this started, okay? There's this rough-cut wood place out in McQueenie, halfway between here and Seguin. You've probably driven by it 100 times. That guy that works there, he's a really interesting character. But he sells these pieces of wood that are in this shape, and they're cut straight from the tree, and they're really rough and really beautiful. Some of them have lots of lines and character, and it's really cool. So I got one of those, and then Declan helped me put together the piping for it, and that's Bill Williams' hand. He helped me assemble the thing and cut the wood down and sand it, and then we added this part up here. And it winds up being this thing that we can use. And I've got plans for this other than this morning, but I wanted to use it this morning to illustrate that these little things here, these pipes, if you turn them hard enough, they'll twist, and they'll be like a hinge on this thing. And if you move it such that the hinges turn how they're not supposed to, it will start to wobble and it will not be square. Hang on to that. We'll come back to that in a second. In Ephesians, that's like when this passage starts in Ephesians 4, he starts out with a therefore, and it is like this hinge of these two parts of this book. And we've been really, really digging into the teaching and the theology and the message of Ephesians 1 through 3. But then when 4 hits, it gets flipped on its end. And Paul starts teaching and explaining and exhorting how you're going to go about living out these things that we've just talked about in 1 through 3. Now, remember, in Ephesians 2, he starts talking about this mystery of how Israelites and Gentiles came together and are grafted into one body. So Paul, he goes over here to the Jews, and he tells them about Jesus, all right? And some of them believe Jesus, and some of them don't. And then Peter and those folks, they go off and they start bringing the gospel story to Gentiles. And some of them believe, and some of them don't. And the Jews who believe and the Gentiles who believe, they form this new thing. The two become one, and it's the church. And when that happens, history changes. Because it's so powerful. What God starts to do in two different groups of people who start to come together and live as one. Do you think that might have been tough for those churches? Do you think it might have been, it caused a little bit of stress to have to live with people who lived exactly the opposite of you? Yeah, I'll bet. And had you tried to convince them that it's on them and their own power to live together in harmony, in unity, they probably would have thrown in the towel and said, sorry, I'm out. Not possible, can't do it, forget it. But the mystery, the good news is, it's not on their power. Jesus and the Spirit within them creates the unity. Let's look at Ephesians 4. I, therefore, prisoner of the Lord, urge you to walk in a manner worthy of the calling to which you've been called, with all humility and gentleness, with patience, bearing with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity in the Spirit with the bond of peace. Verse 1 is the goal, walking in a manner worthy of the calling. Verses 2 and 3 are the how you're going to do that. Okay, so we just learned all this stuff about Jesus and mystery and God and the gospel and how it's going to play out in history. So what? Now what do we do with that? Okay, well, we're going to walk in a manner that's worthy of that. How do we do that? We're going to be gentle. We're going to be patient. We're going to bear with one another. We're going to be eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit. Eager to maintain is an interesting phrase because it kind of assumes that the unity of the Spirit is already there and it's our job to keep it. Anybody ever tried to lose weight? Right. Anybody ever tried to keep weight off? Oh, it's 10 times harder. Why is that? Well, I can't give you the biology, but I can tell you that when God starts to work, he plops this thing right down in the middle of history called the church, and he says, I'm doing this thing. You got to stay on board. You got to maintain. Here's how. I want you to be patient with each other. I want you to be gentle. Now, as I pointed out, we've got Jews and we've got Gentiles in the original context who are coming together and living. And Paul will go on to say in just a few verses, when you are together, this is going to live out in several different ways. In other words, unity, like the video said, is not the same thing as uniformity because some people are prophets and some are evangelists and some are teachers and some people are great with computers and some people are good at writing notes and some people can lead a retreat and some people can drive a van and some people can do stage design and some people can do a million things that have to do with coming together as a church. But there is a way, there is an approach to causing and creating unity that is all about everybody looking the same, and it's led by this guy. I find your lack of faith disturbing. No, everybody has to look the same with him, and he's ruling by fear. Look, we are never going to inspire and approach unity with a Darth Vader method. It doesn't work. Or maybe you feel like this guy. He's the ringmaster of the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. And he is the one in charge. He's the MC. He's got everything before him, and he calls out what's going to happen when. And he looks like he's got it all together. And that might be us. That might be you. But behind you, you've got a car full of clowns. And you've got death-defying acts and leaps through fire. And every time you ask your wife, honey, what's wrong? You are jumping into the lion cage. No, it's neither of these things. Because what's crazy when Paul starts, as he continues on, he starts talking about this patience and this unity and gentleness and all this. It leads to maturity. And so the opposite of unity is not discord, but immaturity. That is a profound concept for somebody like Paul to write, especially in his day in Ephesians and so forth. Because there's no way that they're going to be on the same page about everything. But Paul says, let's get to a point where we can live in the push and the pull. Let's live in the tension. Do you know the name Israel? It's from the Old Testament. It's what God called his people. It's named that because initially Jacob has this wrestling with God in Genesis 32, and God gives him a new name, Israel. And it means struggling with God. And that name is going to become a foreshadowing and a looking forward to how his people are going to live. It's going to be a struggle. There's no way around it. But what's important? That we struggle, or that you got my back and I got your back. And not, I got your back until you don't have my back. No. I got your back. We're in this together. Even with people who you wouldn't normally put in the same room at the same time. Even them. See, that's why Paul really anchors down on the ones here, because he wants to make sure that we keep the main thing the main thing. And God's people, man, do we have a history of not keeping the main thing the main thing. Look at this. This is from Amos. I despise your feasts. I take no delight in your solemn assemblies. Even though you offer me burnt offerings and grain offerings, which God commanded, by the way, I will not accept them. And the peace offerings of your fattened animals, I will not look upon them. Take away from me the noise of your songs, the melody of your harps. I will not listen, but let justice roll down like waters and righteousness like an ever-flowing stream. They thought this stuff was in the bullseye, but it's not. It's this stuff that's in the bullseye. Justice, mercy, righteousness. That's not all. Hosea 6, for I desire steadfast love and not sacrifice, the knowledge of God rather than burnt offerings. Steadfast love there, the word on the backside of that is a word that kind of means loyalty, togetherness, faithfulness, affection, love, all wrapped into one word. And the word knowledge there is the same word that God used to describe the relationship between Adam and Eve, where their children were a result. Adam knew his wife, right? Same concept. That God wants us not to know about him. He wants us to know him. There's a difference. And that is the bedrock, the capstone of what it means to be united. When we are all about those things. And not about the stuff up here that reflect the ways in which we're all different. How about this one? Jeremiah 20. What used to me is frankincense that comes from Sheba. This is God speaking through Jeremiah. Or sweet cane from a distant land. Your burnt offerings are not acceptable. Your sacrifice is pleasing to me. O Lord, open my lips, and my mouth will declare your praise. For you will not delight in sacrifice, or I would give it. You will not be pleased with burnt offering. The sacrifices of God are a broken spirit, and a broken and contrite heart, O God, will you not despise. You know that song we sing after somebody's baptized? Create in me a clean heart, O God. This is the following passage in the same song. Oh, but wait. Unity, it's not just some task or goal. It's part of our identity. It's part of who we are as a group of Christians, as a group of people who claim Christ. We're unified. We don't become unified. We are unified, and our job is to maintain it through gentleness patience, the list. A couple of weeks ago, we had a bonfire out at the Williams house. And Bill and Rita, they just absolutely love our teenagers like crazy. And I mean, I know the rest of you guys do too, but Bill and Rita have just opened their home again and again and again, and they're really, really fantastic people. Well, we had a bonfire at their house, and we had hot cocoa and marshmallows. And towards the end, I kind of planned this little Devo thing, and towards the end, I gave everybody a stick and a twig, and I said, I want you to think of one thing that you want to give to the youth group. And not something physical. I mean, what of yourself? What can you bring to the youth group? What can you offer? What can you bless the community with? And everybody who was there, I gave a little twig to, adults included. And I said, when you have that answer, I want you to walk up, before you leave tonight, you don't have to do it right now, but before you leave, I want you to walk up and just put that stick in the fire. And we sang a few songs, we had a devotional thought, and they did. There were some people there that I just met that night. There was visitors, and there was people there that have been here since I've been here. And there was different ages, different genders, different groups. It was great. Well, I got those ashes from that bonfire, and I put them in this jar. Because in this state, there's no difference between anybody and what they wanted to be and offer. Carson looks exactly like Bill Williams in this jar. And that's a beautiful thing, by the way. And Annalise looks exactly like the girl from Friend of a Friend Canyon. I can't remember her name right now because I'm terrible at that. But they look exactly alike in here. And what they want to bring, it comes together and forms this thing. Look, that's where we are. Are we all going to go jump in the fire pit? No. But I wanted to show you that to see, here's what it looks like when we put the us before the me. This is the result. Now, you're going to like this. I need some volunteers for this one, okay? So, if you're a person who maybe feels like red kind of describes you, maybe you're feeling red, maybe red's your favorite color. I don't know, we'll be real broad here, okay? I need a red kind of person. If you're willing to come up here and be a red for me, I've got something for you. Sloan. Come here, my friend. Do you know what this is? It is a glow stick. All right, so snap that. For those of you that don't know, a glow stick is a thing where it's got chemicals inside of it, and there's a glass vial inside the big thing, and when you break that and the two chemicals meet, the reaction is they light up. All right, so perfect. Now, we need a little bit of dark for this, okay? So could we dim the lights? Just stand right there. Okay. Now, I need a person who's maybe a green person. Now, before you raise your hand, Sloan, how old are you? 9. You're 9. Okay, perfect. I need someone who is maybe grandparent age? Is that cool? Can I have somebody like that? Man or woman, I don't care. Do I see a hand? Yes, absolutely. Okay. Now, actually, I need 2 greens. Is there another green type person? Ah, perfect. Okay, stand right there so the crowd can see you. Perfect. Excellent. All right, now, if you're a blue kind of person, no judgment here, we all like Miles Davis, okay? But and I need somebody who maybe is someone in between these 2 age brackets. Maybe a mom or dad, somebody in that realm. Do we have anybody who's a blue like that? Yeah, all right. Now, I've got another blue. I need another blue. So do we have another, maybe a mom type? Oh, perfect. Come on up. Okay, so go stand right over there by the other blue. Crack that. Now, what's interesting about glow sticks is that as long as it's in the package, it's not really living out its purpose. In fact, until something breaks inside of it, it will never be what it was designed to be. You with me? Are you with me? All right, so we've got our blue over here, and we've got our red right here, and we've got our greens right here. Now, here's where it gets crazy. All right, Sloan, I want you to hold this. No, don't put that in there. Just hold that. Very good. Now, give me this. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to pour that in there. Go ahead. Be careful. It's radioactive. Not really. Excellent. Okay. Now, hold on. There you go. Throw that away. There we go. Perfect. Now. Okay, now, David, I want you to pour yours in there. Yeah, you can toss it. That's fine. All right, you're next. Now, watch this. Splash you. Perfect. Here you go. You guys can sit down. Thank you very much. Give them a hand. No, not you. You're not going anywhere. Now swirl that around. And the most amazing thing starts to happen when these reds and greens and blues all start to come together. Guess what they make? The light, it turns white. Isn't that beautiful? Look, that's so important because in John 17, when Jesus is offering his prayer, he says, I don't ask for these only, meaning these are the disciples, but also for those who will believe in me through their word, that they may all be one, just as you, Father, are in me, and I in you, that they may also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. Look, unity is not unity is not this beat down over the head like you must be like us all. No, unity is like standing in the corner, waving from across the room, asking you to come over. And what it says to you is, you belong here. You belong here. You belong here. You belong here. Because without you, we don't have this. We just have a bunch of individual colors. And as Mick mentioned in our call to worship, our unity is our witness. Our unity is our light. This time in history is so unique because we've got a situation where we've got up to 5 generations in one congregation. That really hasn't ever happened before until the last couple of hundred years. Ephesians certainly didn't have to deal with that. So we've got people who were born right about the time, I'm thinking of like maybe the greatest generation, right about the time cars were invented. And then we've got babies in the room who haven't learned how to talk yet. And we've got everyone in between. Our greatest witness to the world, God will take that and say to a world that is fractured and broken and missing parts, he will take our unity and show the world and say, you belong here. This is what it looks like.